Welcome to The Explainer. So today, we're diving into something that's seen a totally massive shift over the last 5 years or so. We are talking about red light therapy. You know, not too long ago, strapping this glowing red mask to your face or standing in front of some giant light panel, it felt like a very fringe kind of experimental biohack, right? Well, fast forward to today, and as we've seen in recent comprehensive pieces in top journals like Nature, it's really cemented itself as a mainstream, clinically validated tool. We're going to unpack the cellular science behind why this actually works, what the new research is telling us, and some highly practical takeaways from over half a decade of daily hands-on use.
Okay, let's actually step back for a second and look at the big picture here. Before we even touch on devices or clinical trials, I want to challenge you with a really fundamental question. Is it possible that our modern indoor lifestyle is actually a severe form of light deprivation? Because as we'll see, the whole reason red light therapy works so incredibly well might just stem from what we're biologically starved of in our everyday environment.
To get to the bottom of this, here's our roadmap for today. We'll quickly cover the indoor light problem, how red light works, healing skin and collagen, why simpler devices win out, the power of consistency, and finally caring for your device. Let's get right into it.
Part 1. The indoor light problem, evolution versus modern living. To really wrap our heads around red light therapy, we kind of have to stop thinking of it as this foreign medical treatment and instead frame it as a biological necessity. Just consider this staggering statistic for a second. Modern humans spend roughly 90% of their time indoors. 90%. And look, this isn't just an issue for our physical activity levels. It is a profound shift in our physiological exposure to light. For basically all of our evolutionary history, our bodies were bathed in a wide, rich spectrum of natural sunlight from dawn until dusk, but now we are effectively starved of that spectrum. Let's compare what our bodies are expecting versus what they're actually getting. Modern indoor lighting, which again we spend 90% of our time under, is overwhelmingly dominated by LED and fluorescent bulbs, and those emit a very, very narrow light spectrum. Natural sunlight, on the other hand, is incredibly broad. And the really crucial part here is that sunlight, especially around sunset, is deeply rich in red and infrared light. We are biologically adapted to receive those specific wavelengths, yet our indoor lives completely block them out. We're essentially running a biological machine on the entirely wrong type of fuel.
Moving on to part 2. How red light works. The science of photobiomodulation.
So, since we've established that evolutionary gap in our light exposure, let's look at the cellular solution. The history of modern red light therapy is actually this wild story of serendipity. It all started back in the 1960s when a Hungarian scientist who was just doing experiments on rodents accidentally discovered that low-level red light stimulated rapid hair growth and totally accelerated wound healing. From that one accidental lab observation decades ago, it has blossomed into what we have today. A mainstream therapeutic tool with a constantly expanding list of clinical applications backed by heavy-hitting scientific journals. Now, what's happening under the hood inside your body is absolutely fascinating. The leading explanation comes down to our mitochondria, the tiny powerhouses inside our cells that turn nutrients and oxygen into ATP, which is our usable energy. Well, inside this mitochondria is a key enzyme called cytochrome C oxidase, and it basically acts as a biological receptor. It literally absorbs the red and near-infrared light. It's just so profound to think that light can directly dictate our internal physiology completely below the surface of our skin. Let's walk through this biological chain reaction step by step so you can see exactly how light turns into healing energy. First, that targeted red and near-infrared light penetrates the tissue. Second, it gets absorbed by those mitochondrial enzymes we just talked about. Third, this absorption enhances the mitochondrial activity, which leads directly to an increase in ATP production, literally giving your cells more energy to do their jobs. And finally, this whole process triggers the release of nitric oxide to improve oxygen availability, and it uses reactive oxygen species to signal the body to repair tissue. It's just a brilliant natural cascade of cellular empowerment.
All right, part 3, healing skin and collagen, clinical applications.
So when our skin cells are pumped full of this extra ATP, what are the visible results? Well, they're pretty undeniable. The research strongly backs up red light therapy's ability to promote collagen synthesis, which keeps the skin firm. It significantly accelerates wound healing, just like that scientist noticed back in the 60s. And for folks using it daily over the years, the most visible benefits are really how it calms and soothes sensitive skin while brightening and evening out the overall skin tone. It's visibly improving skin health by treating it at the foundational cellular level.
Which brings us to part 4, why simpler devices win, avoiding sensitization.
Knowing the science is awesome, but you still have to navigate a super saturated market. And a huge takeaway from 5 years of daily use is this: simpler is definitely better. As this market has exploded, companies are desperately trying to stand out by adding all these gadgets, extra wavelengths, and complicated features. Complex devices might throw in a third deep penetrating wavelength above 1,000 nanometers, or add blue light for acne, or stick on physical cooling eye patches. But here's the catch. Those extra wavelengths outside the optimal 600 to 1,000 nanometer range can actually sensitize your skin. Instead of calming things down, they can cause irritation and redness, which completely defeats the purpose. Meanwhile, the simple devices that stick strictly to two targeted, clinically proven wavelengths, like 660 nanometers for red and 830 for near-infrared, they deliver all the benefits without the risk. And those extra physical features, like eye patches, a lot of the time they're just blocking the light from hitting areas you actually want to treat. Less is absolutely more here.
Now, I do need to throw in a really important caveat here. Science is actually still actively exploring how variables like your individual skin thickness and skin tone influence the ideal dosage. For instance, men generally have thicker skin than women, and that might influence their optimal treatment time or how they respond. Because of these individual differences, especially if you have thinner or more sensitive skin, straying into unproven high-frequency wavelengths is a massive gamble. Sticking to the basic, well-studied ranges is simply the safest and most effective bet.
Part 5. The power of consistency. Building the habit.
Look, let's be totally real for a second. Buying the world's most perfect device means absolutely nothing if it just sits in a box. This quote really hits the nail on the head regarding photobiomodulation. If you don't imagine yourself using a device at least 5 times a week, then it's probably not worth the investment. Because red light therapy works by cumulatively boosting cellular energy and bringing down inflammation, using it just once in a blue moon gives you almost zero noticeable benefit. The actual magic requires time and near-daily consistency.
So I want to directly challenge you to look at your own daily habits. Ask yourself, what are you actually willing to do? In theory, a massive red light body panel sounds amazing. But using it means getting undressed, standing naked in a cold room, and dedicating completely uninterrupted time. Now contrast that with a flexible face mask. You can literally just slap it on first thing in the morning, lay in bed for 10 minutes, and it doesn't matter what you're wearing or what state you're in. That incredibly low barrier to entry is exactly why a simple face mask often guarantees the daily compliance you actually need to see results.
And finally, Part 6. Caring for your device, hardware longevity.
These things are real investments, and if you're using them 365 days a year, they are absolutely going to experience some wear and tear. So knowing how to handle the hardware is crucial. The absolute most common point of failure for daily users is connectivity issues right in the wiring. You should literally never let the weight of the device or the battery pack pull on the cord junctions. Whenever you move the mask, hold it securely, and always carry the battery pack separately so it doesn't hang and create tension. And honestly, before you even buy, do your homework on the brand. Make sure they have a solid track record of honoring warranties and having great customer service, because daily use will eventually test the limits of pretty much any electronic device.
Wow, okay, we have covered a ton of ground today. Everything from our evolutionary need for broad-spectrum sunlight right down to the way our mitochondria absorb red light to boost our cellular ATP. We've seen exactly how simple, consistent application visibly heals the skin and why avoiding fancy gimmicks protects you from unwanted irritation. So I'm going to leave you with this final provocative thought. In a world built entirely on artificial narrow-spectrum light, is using a red light device just some clever modern biohack, or is it actually a profound biological necessity, a way of finally giving ourselves the light they've been starved of all along? Thank you so much for exploring the science and the practical side of red light therapy with us today. Keep looking for ways to optimize your health, and I'll see you in the next explainer.